Well, a document just released reveals the Defense Department's top torturing techniques. The 37-page guidebook details 10 ways officials can torture detainees suspected of having ties to terrorism. And it was reportedly handed out for the first time back in 2002 to officials of the Bush administration. And it sheds light on the birth of the Bush administration's torture policy. And now there's a debate over whether or not using the methods detailed in this book and used on detainees are considered war crimes. To talk more about this, the man that filed the Freedom of Information request to obtain the documents, Jason Leopold, lead investigator for truthout.org. Welcome, Jason. So first I want to ask you, when did you file the request for these documents, and what were you hoping to find out?
Well, I want to make that clear. I did not file the Freedom of Information Act request for this document. I found out that this document was released by the Department of Defense. It was actually released to McClatchy newspapers under a Freedom of Information Act request that they filed, but the news organization did not do anything with this document or file any story. It's my opinion that they did not recognize the significance of this in the context of how it pertains to the origins of the Bush administration's torture program. So this was actually posted on the Defense Department's FOIA reading room website, a place I visit frequently. And I downloaded it, I looked at it, and it was stunning to me. I knew exactly what it was when I had opened it up. This is a document that was actually referenced in the Justice Department's Inspector General report, actually its watchdog report, back in 2010, if you recall, when they investigated the legal work that went into the preparation of the torture memo prepared by John Yoo and signed by his boss, Jay Bybee. This document is briefly referenced. It's called Pre-Laboratory Operating Instructions, dated May 7th, 2002. And you mentioned that there are 10 techniques. There's actually many, many techniques in this document. This is the document that we use, that the United States uses, to train service members in an area known as Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape, SEER, how to avoid resistance to interrogation if captured by an enemy. This is what we've heard many of over the years in terms of reverse engineering. In this document, there are 7 of the 10 techniques that ended up in the torture memo come directly from this document. Walling, which is slamming a detainee against a wall. There is cramped confinement, placing a detainee into a small box. Facial slaps, water torture, a whole wide range of techniques that they employed here.
And now, Jason, are these methods considered legal?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So, you know, as I indicated, and as you stated, this is a May 7th, 2002 document. That's the date. Not sure if it was created on that date, but that's the date that was actually included in the Justice Department investigative report. So we know now, as a result of this document, that some of the interrogation methods that the first high-value detainee had been subjected to in May of 2002, that same month that this document was supposedly created, that there was this happened before the legal memo was prepared. So, and that legal memo is what gave the CIA the authorization to subject this detainee, Abu Zubaydah, and later on others, to these techniques. So it's clear that there was likely some verbal authorization taking place between the CIA and its interrogators at its black site prison. But you know, what's really significant about this is that this is the first document, the first training manual, the first real piece of hard evidence that provides deep insight into the origins of the Bush torture program.
And now, so they did originate from the Bush administration. Are they also being used in the Obama administration?
Well, you know, there is some debate as to what is actually being used. And what's very important to point out is that the Army Field Manual does contain certain techniques such as, I believe there's isolation, maybe hooding in there, in which we know has been used as a form of torture. So when the Obama administration says that they have ended torture, that they've abandoned, outlawed, if you will, these techniques, it's really up for debate on how you define torture. I've discussed this with our team many times before regarding solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is a form of torture, and that is actually something that's continuing to take place at prisons in Bagram and Guantanamo, and certainly in U.S. prisons as well. So, with regard to what the Obama administration is doing, it's really difficult to say. We're more or less have to take the word from the administration, their word, that they are no longer using these techniques that originated in the Bush era.
Now, Jason, what is the significance of this? I know that you wanted to make this information public because the other news outlet failed to. Why do you think it's important for this information to be made public?
Well, it's an important question. First, we want to have a true document where we can document historically what the origins were of the Bush torture program. But what's really important about this document, and I've quoted in my story, which I wrote along with my colleague Jeffrey Kay, we quote a veteran interrogator, an intelligence professional, Colonel Steve Kleinman. He went through these resistance training programs. He also was an instructor. This is the guidebook to false confessions. This particular manual, as he stated, is if you want to get reliable intelligence information, this is not the manual to use. If you want to obtain false confessions, this is the manual to use.
Oh, wow.
This
Jason,
is a manual that was
wish we could
used
continue
for
this.
propaganda
I wish we could
purposes.
continue this debate. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll be right back here in a half hour.